All right, we have Mike Mitchell's power rankings heading into the final week of the regular season of the XFL. 90% of the XFL 2023 season is complete. Four teams are still fighting for two playoff spots ahead of the week finale. But the path to the XFL championship was set in week 9. It will have to go through DC and Houston. If you haven't heard, DC and Houston won the divisions in the North and the South. And now it's up to who are those other four teams that are going to be in the playoffs. But right now, let's take a look at the power rankings. So, of course, number one, DC Defenders. They're 8-1. Had a big sellout, 18,684 fans, including yours truly, at the game there. There's no doubt about it that they are the team to beat. Even though they lost to, that was a close game, they could have lost. They still came out on top in the end, almost in overtime. An Arlington team that we could not really that impressed with. But the thing is, Arlington's got Luis Perez. They're looking better. DC is not a juggernaut. They can be beat because these games have been close, but they've been squeaking it out. Number 2, Seattle Sea Dragons, potentially Ben DiNucci as your XFL MVP. A lot of people are talking about him. They showed undoubtedly why they are playoff championship worthy with they besting the Battlehawks in St. Louis 30-12, and they've won 6 of their last 7 games, so you have to kind of keep an eye on them too. Of course, we go on to number 3 is the Battlehawks. Seem to be slipping a little bit. The magical of the St. Louis Battlehawks season could be coming to an end. They seem to be struggling a little bit. They have been winning, but they lost to Seattle. AJ McCarron has been hurt. That could be a factor to keep in mind as we go into the last week of the season and into the playoffs. If they do make to the playoffs, is how healthy is AJ McCarron? Keep an eye on that. He hasn't played that great like he normally did in the beginning of the season. Same with the Houston Roughnecks at number 4. They're 6-3. Speaking of their quarterback, Brandon Silvers was a guy in the beginning of the season we were talking about. Now his game is kind of went down, but they did win. They are 6-3. They have won the division, and I mean they are beat Vegas, so they're definitely a team to be worried about, but I really think the champion will be coming from the North. Number 5, Arlington Renegades at 4-5. They lost a heartbreaking one to the DC Defenders. Showed some life, especially Luis Perez. Come on, Luis Perez for MVP. They are still in the hunt. Mike Mitchell has them at 5. They have a path to get in. All they have to do is win. Whether or not they beat against Houston is a whole different story, but the Renegades are still in, and even if the Renegades win, they have to have somebody else potentially, or if they lose, somebody else needs to win, and that's number 6, San Antonio Brahmas. They're 3-6. They still have life. They still have life. They beat the Orlando Guardians 24-23 in their first ever home victory at the Alamo Dome. So now San Antonio is still alive thanks to the DC Defenders' victory over Arlington. So they still have a chance. They need to win, and Arlington needs to lose. In effect, that's the way they can get into the playoffs. So they are still alive, and Hines Ward's team at number 6. Number 7 is the Vegas Vipers, 2-7. They have a guy in Jalen McClendon. He's a guy there, but still just cannot put it together so that they can win these games. They are at 2-7. They're at number 7. And then, of course, at the bottom, Orlando Guardians. They beat the top team in the league, but then they haven't looked that great. They lost to the Brahmas 25-23, a game that they could have won. The game against Arlington that I was at, they could have won that as well, but they just kind of keep coming up short. And there you have it, the power rankings for Week 10 of the XFL, heading into Week 10 of the XFL season.